Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I'll be doing a review of the film Nomadland, which has just gotten a bunch of nominations at the Oscars this year, which, as you all know, I'm not a big fan of the Oscars. I feel like they have really kind of lost their shine for a lot of different reasons, but Nomadland still got a lot of attention and has been getting a lot of attention even before then by many critics and other movie reviewers, and having now just seen it, it is now available on Hulu. I can say this is a pretty darn good movie. This is the first time I've ever seen a film by Chloe Zhao. Obviously, she is a director now for the Eternals in the MCU, and so there's been a lot of speculation as to what kind of film that is going to be. We've heard a lot of rumors about what that kind of movie is going to be and some of the politics behind it. But what I can talk about, again, I really can't talk about that because we've not seen the movie yet, is I can talk about this film, and I can talk about this story, and I can talk about the immense talent. Obviously, Frances McDormand, everyone knows she's a talented actress, and that does not stop here. But I just want to talk about how talented Chloe Zhao is in this. Not only did she direct this movie, she also wrote the screenplay, adapted it from a book, and also edited the movie. And this is something that is very odd to me because it's not very common, I feel, in modern Hollywood to have directors that would actually edit their own movies. You know, typically you have, high-profile editors working in conjunction with these high-profile directors to make the best film possible. But this film not only is well directed, not only is well written, but is also very well edited as well, with the pacing really going very well. It's about an hour and 45-minute movie, and it really does move at a pretty nice clip. Now, I think there are going to be some people that are going to find this film to be a bore, maybe even using terms like Oscar bait, and I can understand why one would do that, because this is definitely the type of movie that the Oscars tend to be a little bit more willing to give accolades to and give recognition to, because we've seen this huge push recently in the last 10 years, especially at the Oscars, to push for more independent indie-style movies. And in this case, I would say it's actually pretty well warranted because, as I said, everything about this is just very, very well done. You have, again, top-notch direction here from Chloe Zhao. All the people that you see on screen, other than Frances McDormand, and I'm trying to think of the major actor in this film. He's got a featured role in this movie. David Strathairn. Don't know how to say his name. But almost every other character that you see in this film is actually living the life of a nomad. So obviously the name Nomadland is referring to the fact that there are people that live the life of a nomad, meaning they don't have an actual stable home. They live pretty much in their cars. Some of them have just basic cars, some have vans, some have, trailers that they have a little bit more space in. But the concept is that they're always on the move. They're always on the road. They're traveling around everything. And I just thought that was very interesting. I've always been drawn to those kinds of stories about people living off the grid, people living more independent life. As you all know, I'm a huge fan of films like Leave No Trace, for instance, which to me this film felt a lot like. So if you're thinking about comparisons to other movies, if you've seen films like Winter's Bone, or if you've seen films like Leave No Trace, obviously Chloe Zhao has done other films as well. The main one that got her a lot of attention, as it mentions here in the bio, is The Writer from 2017, which now I'm actually very interested to see, because if it's anything like this one as far as its style, I think it could actually be a pretty good watch. But if you're a fan of those kinds of movies and those kinds of stories, I think that this one would be one for you. It's an interesting story. It's an interesting telling. And the fact that they feature, going back to the main point, the fact that they feature actual nomads, they there are people who are, I thought were just actors in the film who actually are living out the nomadic lifestyle, which I thought was really cool to see. I always like when they're able to, in stories, bring in people who are, authentic to the story, authentic to the material. And so to bring actual nomads into a film called Nomadland was pretty cool. And what was also interesting is the fact that they actually did a very good job. And this is the reason why I give credit to Chloe Zhao, because this is a small film, right? There's a small film where she was a producer on, Frances McDormand was a producer on, so it meant that she had a lot of control over this project. When she's both director, writer, and producer, and even editor, she's going to have a lot of power over the creative decisions here. And so the fact that they were able to get in these actual nomadic people, but also to be able to direct them to the point of them not looking like they have not had any training. Obviously, they're not, the greatest actors in the world, but the fact that they were able to still get them to pass in this movie, and to have Frances McDormand as well fit just alongside them, right? She never really felt like a sore thumb. She never felt like she was, kind of sticking out of the pack. She felt like she would have belonged in this group of people. And so just listening to them and hearing them and watching the stories they tell, obviously using much of the script given by Chloe Zhao, was pretty awesome to see, and it was a pretty amazing thing to see as well. And so the book itself is nonfiction based on Nomadland, surviving America in the 21st century, and I thought that was just interesting how there are these different themes throughout the movie, right? There's this one aspect where they mention, I thought that I would be able to rely on Social Security, and then I found out that my Social Security was essentially nothing. At one point they say, living under the tyranny of the dollar, right? They talk about these types of things, and so there's stuff like that that's like very much down in my wheelhouse, right? Things that I'm so drawn to, right? Going after how the current system that we have kind of leads people to either buy into the system and get a lot of debt and everything, or to be like this and just say, okay, I'm just going to reject the culture. I'm just going to reject the world around me, and I'm going to, live out this lifestyle. What's also cool is that they apparently, Frances McDormand, Chloe Zhao as well, and the other actors, since they had nomadic actors here, all decided to live in vans as they were, filming this back in 2018. It took them about 4 months to film, and the landscapes here are beautiful. And again, that's the other major thing to talk about is a couple of the other technical things here. Cinematography is fantastic. Joshua James Richards does a great job here framing all the shots. So he worked very well with Chloe Zhao in making sure that these shots really, again, showed it's really a human story. And so to show the human side of it, to be able to get these close-ups on the faces as they're acting, really does, again, bring out the human dynamic. Showing these beautiful landscapes as well also really gets the point across about why there are people that would do this, because they get to travel the country. They get to, literally, view some of the most beautiful things that we have in our country. And it was also really backed up by a wonderful score as well. And it says here it was by Ludovico Einaudi. Again, I don't really know much of his work. I'm trying to see maybe if there is a filmography here of any other films that he's worked on before. It looks like he has done some other, so he does a mini-series. He's done a lot of television. He did The Father, so that was another film actually I was interested to check out. So he's done that. He did The Water Diviner. He did the one for J. Edgar for The Untouchables. That's a film that I know that a lot of people have recommended to me. And a bunch of other things too. So it looks like, again, guy knows his stuff, and it's this very soft playing piano is essentially the entire score of the movie. And there's this constant theme that you hear throughout of it, and I think it's just very compelling. It puts you in the right mood for it. This movie is definitely a drama. There's, I guess you could say, there are some moments that might be funny, I guess you could say, just in the general interactions of people, but it is definitely a drama. So go into this film expecting it to be a drama, not really something that's going to bring a lot of people to tears necessarily. There's really aren't a whole lot of moments like that, though there are definitely some touching human moments as well, where there's one character who, you find out their story and what they want to do and how much time they have left, and then by the end of the film, they're no longer there, and so there's this goodbye that they have there. That was, again, very well done, and you feel the emotion there, but not in the way that you would, be brought to tears necessarily. But in the end, Nomadland, I think, is a well-written movie. It's a well-directed film. It looks fantastic. It makes a lot of sense as to why this film is getting such recognition. It is sad, though, because, especially with the Oscars, and as you can see from this Wikipedia page, the main focus is going to be on the fact that she is a female director and that she is a female director of Asian descent. And I think that what this movie shows is that those things really, in the end, don't matter. Those things have no bearing, right? I'm so tired of everyone having to focus and key in on those details and not just say it's a great movie with great direction, regardless of who's behind the camera. And so, again, I think Chloe Zhao did a great job here, and I really hope, again, I really haven't seen a lot of interviews from her. I don't really read a lot of the things that she said, but I really hope that she doesn't buy into that mentality of, I hope that she's a lot more like one of the directors who's currently involved with Star Wars, who went on record to say, I don't want to be known as just a female director or as an Asian director or as an Asian female director. I just want to be a good director. And so I'm hoping that she is in that same caliber, though, of course, unfortunately, we all know that the modern day Hollywood types are definitely not about that. And for her to be, nominated for Best Director this year, obviously to have the film nominated for Best Film as well, one could potentially see that, especially if they are likely to give the award to her this year. And at least at this point, if she does happen to win the Oscar, I can say, hey, she did a really great job with this movie. I think that there's some merit to be had there. But I just really, again, hope that the mindset behind the people voting isn't just, hey, let's give it to her for this, XYZ reason. Because, again, I think that's where modern Hollywood is going. And you've really seen it, especially when you look at the new rules that the Oscars are trying to implement, where their whole mindset is, well, we're trying to make things more diverse. But then you're also saying that a film can't be a good film, essentially, unless it follows these arbitrary standards and quotas, which I don't think helps anyone in the end. But this film, fantastic. As I said, great writing, great direction. As far as any negatives to this film, there's a couple moments where you're like, do I really need to see that? There's a moment where Frances McDormand's lying naked in a creek, or like in a little creek, a little river with the water moving. And again, I understand the mindset is just that sense of freedom that's meant to be expressed there. But, for me, I'm like, I probably could have, done without that shot. There's a couple of shots of her going to the bathroom too. And again, it's meant to convey the kind of life that they live, right? They don't use indoor plumbing typically, right? When they're on the road, they have to, just go where they are. And so obviously it brings that realism to it. But again, those are very, very minor nitpicks here to that. And then one aspect of the story is one of the characters who I mentioned, is talking about death because they've been diagnosed with cancer, is the fact that they bring up Dr. Death, and they bring him up not necessarily in a overall positive light, but they definitely treat it as if it's just, oh yeah, Dr. Death, has given me some options in case I ever want to go down that road if I don't want to, suffer at the end of my life. And as you all know, as a Catholic, I, of course, take issue with that. And so that was, again, a very, very small part of the story. So it was not enough to really change my opinion of the movie. But in the end, this film, as I said, very good. Definitely a slow burn overall. And I think some people will probably watch the movie thinking, okay, this film doesn't really seem to be going anywhere, and maybe won't like it for that reason. But I think there's a lot to like about this movie, especially from a technical level. So again, kudos to Chloe Zhao for doing something great here. Do I think this is going to mean that the Eternals is going to be well done? Well, no. And the reason why is because the Eternals, just like any other MCU movie, is in the machine of Disney's MCU. And so, we've had directors come out to say that they have very little control really over their projects in the MCU because Disney has such a tight fist on what they want and the vision they want. So even though Chloe Zhao, I think, is going to be a good director on those projects, based on the work I saw her do here, and I'm assuming also in her other film, The Writer, it seems that she is going to be much better suited for these smaller, lower budget films that focus more on story, on human emotion. And it wouldn't surprise me if Chloe Zhao, when she finishes with The Eternals, might go and be like, okay, that was cool getting involved, getting a lot of money from this, but I think I might want to go back to these passion projects because all I can say is, as someone who's just seen one of them, that is the way to go for you because you did a great job. So I would give this film an A-. Again, a very, very solid film. And yeah, really not a whole lot negative to say about it. It's an A- simply because I don't know how much I would want to rewatch it. The first 20 minutes are like really, really good, and I feel like I could have rewatched it a lot. But as the story went on, again, it didn't get bad. It's just that the story and the character went in a certain way where I'm like, okay, I'm enjoying this now, but I don't know if I would enjoy seeing it again in the future. But it is still a solid film nonetheless that you should check out. I think it's on Hulu. And of course, it's available in many other locations that I'm sure that you can find. But anyway, what are your thoughts about Nomadland? Have you seen it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you like this video, smash that like button. It really does mean a lot. Smash the fire button over on Odyssey. Again, I am uploading these videos on Odyssey and on Minds.com, alt-tech platforms. So if you want to support me over on those alt-tech platforms, please consider supporting me over there. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my March Patreon members: Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator, Brian P., Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, The Honky Chonky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jay, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carr,